When health insurance refuses to cover a treatment, few people tend to fight back. Part of the reason why is that crafting and filing an appeal can be a complicated and time consuming process. But what if it didn't have to be? I'm Jennifer Strong, and this is Shift.
Now here on the steering column is a device called Auto Cruise. You simply set the speed you want.
Self-driving robo-taxis are already on the road in 2 U.S. cities.
As the disc rotates, a mirror reflects the light in the way that depends on how the signal was recorded.
This is the 100 terabyte I present to you Electro, the Moto Man. Ladies and gentlemen.
I would say that one of my greatest skills is my ability to interact with humans.
This episode, we meet a woman helping automate the process of fighting health insurance denials in the U.S.
I'm Holden, Karau, and I created Fight Health Insurance, which is a tool to help people deal with health insurance denials. I've been in America for a little bit over a decade, and coming from Canada, I saw sort of a different approach to healthcare and really wanted to try and make things better in my adoptive home country.
So that's what inspired you to build this. How long have you been doing it?
So I'd say that I've probably been like working on the problem for about a little bit over a year, maybe closer to 2 years at this point. It's definitely something that I've been thinking about for a long time, but like actively working on. It's maybe closer to a year.
And what's your background? How did you come to be doing this work?
So I got a degree in mathematics from the University of Waterloo, and then when I graduated and I tried to find a job in Canada, the recruiter told me that I was too weird and I should move to California. And he was right. And so I have sort of bounced around between the different big tech companies that you would normally think of in the Valley. I haven't done Facebook yet, but otherwise, I've done Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google.
So tell us about your tool and how it works exactly.
It uses fine-tuned large language model and sort of essentially if you've used things like OpenAI, right? Like those are large language models. But there's also sort of this idea that we can make large language models specialize in certain tasks and that we can make them perform better at those tasks by giving them special examples. And so that's an important component of it. So we've got this language model, and we've given it lots of examples of like how to construct appeals. And so this makes it more likely to create good appeals. That's really, I think that's like what one would describe as like the interesting technical part, right? But in addition to that, there's also like a bunch of work to make it accessible to people because using a large language model is complicated. And to be clear, like there's lots of work to be done to make it better here. But we also have a website where you can go and you take a picture of your denial, and we do it's called optical character recognition to transform that picture into the text. And then we have things to take your name out of it before it gets passed over to the model, and sort of like things like that where we then like ask follow-on questions, and so there's like a little workflow. So essentially take someone through the you've got a denial and now here's how we get to the appeal.
Do you ever think about the fact that you're helping people who may not be technical and who've been impacted by, I mean, whatever you want to call it, right? Automated decision making, AI algorithms. You're helping them use some of the same tech perhaps to fight back.
Yeah, so I think this is very true. And I think in some ways what we're doing is we're leveling the AI playing field here, right? Because the insurance companies are using, or allegedly, I don't want to get sued, using AI to deny these claims. And this has created sort of a power asymmetry. And I think there's sort of This is the thing that I talk about a lot when I'm talking to other information technology sort of professionals is like we need to make sure that we're not just recreating the existing power structures of our society, but automated. And instead, we should be looking for ways where we can empower people and have the voices that haven't been heard before included.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what do you hope to see happen next?
So I think there's a bunch of things that I want to see happen. In sort of the short term, I want to see more people making appeals. I want to see more people fighting back against denials. And I think we're already seeing a lot of users, which is exciting. I want to see that number keep growing, up and to the right, as people will say in the valley. I also do want us to make a professional version. So talking to people, a lot of individuals don't know that they have a right to appeal, and they sort of depend on their providers to help them. But when we talk to providers, they're so overwhelmed that they just can't, right? Like they spend so much of their time dealing with insurance companies. And so I want to make a professional version, and I would love to see that grow as well. After that, obviously, I'd like to expand into other places where people are being sort of hurt by these automated decisions. And I get messages from like dentists, they're seeing more and more denials. I've seen pet insurance denials. They said that my dog should be awake for his root canal, which is just like, you don't know. It's not what we do. And so I think there's sort of this whole area of empowering people to fight back against these challenging systems. And I think finding places where it's not just an individual, but like a group of people. So like if you can work with doctors or if you can work with dentists, you've got people who have experience who can help as well. And I'd love to find more ways to collaborate with them. And we'll see.
So, I was going to ask if there was a particular individual that inspired some of this action. So, it was your dog.
Yeah. So my dog, when they said he needs to be awake for his root canal, or more accurately, they said like we don't think the anesthesia is related to the root canal. It was just like, come on, that's bullshit. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And so his name is Professor Timbit, and I love him. But yeah, he was what pushed me over the edge.
Had you been working on this before your dog or no?
Yeah. So I have ADHD, and so I have always about 10 or 20 projects on the go in my life, I would say. My wife is smiling at me when I say this and now laughing. So she definitely agrees with that. And I think it was just like when they decided to mess with my dog, it was the like, okay, this needs to become a priority.
What else should we know about this work?
So there's this interesting problem of like in our society, right? We live in capitalism, and that's part of why these problems exist, right? And I was at UC Davis maybe a week or two ago, and talking with people. And I think one of the challenges that exists in our world is finding ways to make things like this self-sustaining, right? Like, how do we make the things that are good somehow also aligned with making money? And I think it's something that people should think about when they're trying to build things like this, right? And so, for example, like we don't charge people to use it, or we don't charge consumers to use it, but like we'll probably charge doctors for a professional version, right? And it's like if you, I like the idea that there are more people out there who are going to build more things like this, and just I see so many really cool projects sort of die out because unfortunately they're not aligned with capitalism, and not that everything should be aligned with capitalism, but find ways to make things self-sustaining so that it's not just dependent on one person just burning themselves out.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you solve this, do you mind to take a look at journalism next?
So thank you. One of my things is actually like, so I write books, and I write technical books, and one of the things that's been really painful for me to watch is watching publishing die because I love writing, and but I don't know if there's an answer with this kind of stuff. So it's probably a different kind of thinking that we have to fix journalism and publishing. But I don't know. I hope that there's someone out there, maybe they're listening to your show right now, who is going to be the person who comes and fixes it and lets us all get back to doing the things that we love and care about.
Yes, I will hold out that hope. I will say it's been a minute since we quit having classified ads, and I've yet to see any real movement towards a different business model, but I'll keep hoping. This has been absolutely a delight to meet you. Thank you, Holden, for taking the time to chat.
Oh, no, thank you so much for taking the time.
This episode was produced by me and Emma Silikans and mixed by Garrett Lang, with original music from him and Jacob Gorski. Thanks for listening. I'm Jennifer Strong.